When we think of friendship, what do we think of? We think of people with like-minded, ideas and sense of being. We think of people who share common interests as us, or people who we find just simply to be interesting. Often, friends don't always have to be similar or alike, but it is commonly what brings us together. Friendships, as we can understand, are a constant give and take. I, as myself, have always been a very friendly person. If we were on campus this semester, would have definitely made several friends or would have enjoyed having conversation with people. It's to myself to be one of my favorite things about just being a person. Having that interaction with people, I think, is what truly gets me through day to day, and it's something I constantly look forward to, being extroverted. But I think often we do not realize the pros and cons of friendship. Of course, having someone who is like minded as us, or someone who shares the same interest, or is on the same path as us, whether that be school, work, finance, it's a beautiful thing having people around us and having a community. But often we don't realize that friendships are a give and take. It is not always a state of equality. It is a constant balance of having to understand the other person's needs and understanding if you're willing to provide that for the other person. Often in my life, I have found that not all friendships are easy. Some you will meet and you will have an instant connection, and you may never have an argument, but that is unrealistic. Often friendships have a come and go of it. You will have times in your life where you're clicking more, and you'll have times in your life where you're feeling more disconnected. And that's just part of being an adult. Often, I think what we forget is that with friendship, it's not always about just what we want. We forget that it's a voluntary situation. You have to volunteer as a friend to support one another and understand one another. And along with that, the 5 aspects of friendship I'm going to go through that we learned this semester is also personal. Friendships, you understand each other often on a level that no one else does, and you have to represent that friend in the real world, whether that be having a same common knowledge, or, like I mentioned earlier, having a similar interest or being like-minded. Being personable as a friend matters, and understanding each other on that intimate level is what takes friendships often to that next step of closeness. Third, equality. Equality in a friendship, as I mentioned earlier, is not always a constant. Often there are those times of give and take, but it's understanding that that's what gets the friendship through. In times of friendship, one might need each other more than the other. To give an example, whether it be a heartbreak or a loss of a job or a loss of a family member, there's going to be times where that friendship requires more of you than maybe you think you're willing to give. But true friendship is about understanding that and being there and knowing that if the roles were reversed, when your time is to come, that person will also stand by your side. And I think that is why we stay committed to our friends. It's understanding that we know they would do that for us. And I think if you were in a relationship, or if you are in a relationship where you understand that there's not that equity or that equality of, if you scratch my back, I will scratch yours, then there's no true meaning of friendship within that relationship. Fourth, mutual. Friendships also often lie on a mutual understanding and a mutual expectation for one another. As we mentioned previously, understanding that if one needs something, you will be there for the other person, and being mutually respectful of one another, mutually willing to give energy to one another, and having an understanding of what that friendship or what that person needs from you. Often we don't realize that we need to, just like we meet a romantic partner and give them the things that they need from us, we have to also understand it's the same thing in friendships. It's also a relationship, and it also needs to be fed, and you need to mutually feed one another. For instance, in my friendships, I know that often my friends appreciate just texting in a group chat and having a conversation for up to a span of an hour or 30 minutes. And I myself am a person who prefers just traditionally talking on the phone or even a FaceTime, because I appreciate whether that be the voice to voice or the face to face connection. But being understanding of my friends they're more introverted. Often the idea of hopping on a call or a FaceTime is tiring to them and feels emotionally and physically depleting. So as a friend, I have to be mutually understanding that that is something they need from me. And so being active in that group chat, texting them on the side when even if it might be easier for me to just pick up the phone and call, understanding that that's what they need from me. And in the case, they understand what my mutual need is and they'll meet me in the middle. To go into the fifth step, effectiveness. A friendship has to work, and that may be on any level, whether that be in understanding what the other needs from you, as previously mentioned, or just having an effective level of communication. Also, as we just said, communication matters and understanding where they stand on that wavelength. Are you an extrovert? Are you an introvert? And is that something that effectively works for both of you? Often you'll find that having friends who are of the same style of extrovertedness is going to be a tired relationship. Whereas having people who are on the opposing end, introvert and extrovert, you will actually meet each other somewhere in the middle. So, to further expand on effectiveness, you must understand what works within your relationship and what doesn't. And is it effective and mutually beneficial to the both of you? As I covered, the 5 stages of voluntary, personable, equality, mutualness, and effectiveness in relationships. All these tie together. As you saw, there were several times that I connected one to the other, but understanding if a relationship works for us and if we feel that we are getting what we are taking out, but also understanding that there might be times where we're not receiving that same situation. Equality, understanding that friendships, you must be equally willing to care for one another. It's not equally always going to give on both sides, but understanding that you both equally have a care for one another and an equal want for some of the same things. Mutual, you have to establish a mutual connection, whether that be over bonding over the same things or mutually caring for the same people in your life. Effectiveness, make sure this relationship feeds you and you care for it. Understanding what works for a friendship and understanding if someone works for your life matters. I hope I helped you guys understand friendships, and I appreciated this semester with you all. Thank you.